Listen very closely, Sagittarius. This reading feels like it's going to be a little bit esoteric, maybe abstract, at least based off of some of the cards that I've pulled. We'll get into the tarot in just a moment, but I did start off with a couple of oracle cards here, and I actually felt very drawn to pull from my angel deck, which is actually quite unusual. It's not really a deck I use in readings very often at all, but the card that I pulled was Duma, and this is the Angel of Dreams. And this is, as I was kind of looking into this, Duma is also the angel of stillness, of silence, and sometimes is even called the angel of the dead or the underworld, kind of reminding me of Hades or Pluto, almost protecting the rest of the dead. So quite interesting, kind of an intense message right away. Maybe for some of you, there is some sort of connection in dreams. Maybe your dreams are trying to show you something, show you patterns in your life. And while I was connecting more with this energy, I actually saw a really interesting image. It kind of reminded me of the Hanged Man card, but instead of a person, it was this snake that was kind of coiled around this cross or this post. And out of curiosity, I looked up, what is an animal that is associated with Duma? And I actually found out that it is indeed the serpent, a winged serpent specifically sometimes. And so it feels like there is something here with serpentine energy or that archetype of the snake. And it is about shedding, renewal, magic, death, rebirth. And it's quite interesting because I'm always a little bit apprehensive to pull from this angel deck because some sources would actually call some of these angels fallen angels. So maybe there is kind of this devilish undertone or something to it, but I don't necessarily get that sense here, especially in this reading. It's almost like something has been misunderstood. And I did pull an animal card here as well. And of course, we get the sea serpent. And this card is very much about the emotions, emotional depths. And again, this makes me feel like there is something that is coming up in the silence, something that is coming up in your dreams. Whenever it is that your mind is quiet, or wherever it is that your mind is quiet, the answer comes to you. The message comes to you. I feel like for a lot of you, I would really recommend taking some time to sit in silence, maybe even taking a day to be silent if you're able to do that. Maybe even a weekend, maybe even doing something like a Vipassana meditation retreat. Really silencing your mind, silencing yourself, your being. Because I feel like there is an answer that has to come from within you. I'm curious to see what else the tarot is going to say about all of this. I hope I haven't lost you already. This is honestly super interesting for me. Just so much synchronicity already coming through. As I'm shuffling here, I do just want to make a quick announcement that I'm also running a sale on my website. For the holiday season, you can get 20% off using the code Good Tidings. That's good for all of my services. You can find a link for my website in the description of this video, as well as links for all of my other social media accounts. And for those of you who feel so called and have the means to do so, you can make a one-time or monthly donation on Ko-fi, which is also linked in the description of this video as well. Now, I just lost a lot of cards. Okay. Interesting. I'm actually feeling like I need to use a different deck. I'm feeling like we need to go to the Rider-Waite. Let's go with the classics today, shall we? I have to say, your energy is so interesting to me, Sagittarius. I don't know if some of you are connecting with angels or connecting with some kind of spirit, but it does feel like there is something around you that's been trying to communicate with you. Maybe it is just yourself, your inner self, or higher self, your inner child. Interesting. Very decisive here. Okay. So, we have the Queen of Pentacles coming out first here. This is the card of the past. Maybe some of you have been making plans for moving forward in your life, making kind of some goals for yourself. Because when I think of the Queen of Pentacles, I really do think of someone who is not only stable, but who is planning ahead to continue to be stable or increase security. The Queen of Pentacles is not just concerned with the moment. She's always looking ahead to make sure that everyone's needs are taken care of. That's how she nurtures and nourishes people. And so I feel like you've kind of been in this similar energy where you're not just thinking about what it is that you want right now. You're thinking about what it is you want for yourself later in the future, what you want to grow, who you want to support, and trying to figure out how to make those things happen or putting in the work to make those things happen. Now, what's interesting is that I do have the Ten of Swords in reverse, and the card, or the message that I get with this card is actually kind of funny because it's like, stop jumping to worst case scenario. Things might not necessarily be as bad as you think they are, especially if you have some sort of trauma response or some sort of reaction. And maybe that's actually why it's important for you to find some sort of stillness in yourself, because there's almost this tendency, especially if you're like feeling insecure about some sort of plan or maybe the stability of a relationship, especially one that could be something long-term or domestic perhaps. It feels like some of you are really jumping ahead of yourselves, which is kind of interesting. Let me actually clarify this card. We do have the Ace of Cups upright. So for some of you, this really could be about a relationship. For others of you, this is really just about healing your heart, healing some sort of trauma. And the Ten of Swords can also be a card of getting back on your feet as well. So some of you might have gone through some sort of loss, but I'm actually getting more a sense of healing here. And I think healing comes for you by looking forward, as opposed to looking back and kind of ruminating on what was lost, what didn't go your way. I feel like there's almost a sense of acceptance now, Sagittarius, or that's what's being asked of you. And in doing so, it feels like you're finally able to heal from something, move forward in something. There's this sense of renewal with the Ace of Cups, and even like hope or faith. I get that as well. Now, I do have the Knight of Wands coming in the reverse in the present. And I feel like this is actually not a time to be reactive. This is not a time to be impulsive. Sometimes the Knight of Wands is someone who's very passionate, just goes for things, doesn't necessarily think things through. Interestingly, this is actually one of your indicator cards. But what I'm really getting with this in reverse is that you have kind of been going through life in a way that's almost reactive as opposed to responsive, or at least that's coming up in some kind of relevant situation in your life. And that very much feels like it has to do with trauma. And so I feel like, again, this is part of why it's important for you to find a sense of stillness right now. It's almost like when you stop for a moment and take in everything, that's when you're able to kind of move forward. So it's like the more frantic you are, the harder it is for you to actually find stability, find security, whether that's in a relationship, whether that's in some situation in your life or some area of life. It really feels like you need to slow down. And the catalyst here is the Queen of Cups. This is all about connecting to your intuition, reflecting, also seeing what am I carrying that's mine and what am I carrying that's someone else. And I mean that more on the emotional or energetic level, because sometimes the Queen of Cups has a tendency to lose track of herself. But I really do feel like this is a time to connect with yourself. And, you know, at least at the time of this recording, we have had Mercury retrograde in your sign for some time. We're also in your season. And so there really has been this reflection on who you are, your sense of identity, your sense of self, your sense of expression. And now Mercury has retrograded into your astrological 12th house, your subconscious, your dream world. So really pay attention to the messages that are coming through you spiritually or intuitively or through dreams, because I feel like you're getting a lot of guidance here. The funny thing is, I knew there would be a snake card, And I wasn't really using my other deck. There's a lot more animal imagery in the first deck I was going to use, but I was like, no, I need to use another deck, but I know there's going to be a snake, and I have the Lovers. And if you look very closely, we do in fact have this snake in this card, and there is also an angel above these two people. I'm also just going to say, I feel like some of you might be very deep in occult learning or practices right now, or that's something that could really benefit you. Maybe you're learning about traditional forms of magic or folklore. I'm getting this sense that there is something that is very powerful here, and maybe something that's even calling you to work with it. I will just leave you with that. Maybe it's Duma, maybe it's another being. But the imagery here has been very, very strong. And I'm very curious if you've been seeing snakes, or that's been like a symbol for you. And again, it does feel like there might be some kind of shedding, some sort of renewal. As I say that, I see 1111 on the camera. So it feels like there's actually a lot of synchronicity here. And I would love to hear about this for some of you. I also know that the Sea Serpent card is associated with the sacral chakra, which is all about emotions and pleasure. And when this card represents a blockage, it's almost like, what is blocking me from being fully embodied? What is blocking me from my pleasure, from my joy, from being who I really am and expressing my emotions? So I really do get a sense like there is a deep sense of trauma healing here. I know that this card, I know that the sacral chakra is literally Svadhisthana, which translates as in her own abode. So it's quite literally about being at home in yourself. And I do feel that this is also some sort of connection to those of you who do yoga. There could be something about Kundalini energy, which is just a very powerful life force energy. Maybe some of you are going through some sort of awakening, regardless of kind of the belief system you are using or the tradition you are a part of. I really do feel like there is an incredible activation that is going on right now. And it feels like you need to find this in stillness. Some of you are just randomly waking up at night. There's kind of like something that is jolting you awake, and that literally feels like some sort of awakening. Others of you are having false awakening dreams where you think you're awake, that you woke up from a dream, but you're still dreaming. That could be symbolic of waking up to something as well. So very interesting, kind of specific messages. Again, like I do feel like this is a very kind of esoteric reading, but I think there's at least some pieces here that feel practical enough, where I think this is about you letting go of some sort of sabotage or fear that is holding you back. And I do feel like this is somehow very deeply rooted in trauma. And it could be holding you back from relationships. It could be holding you back from your potential. But I feel like there's something very beautiful here with the Lovers in the future. There quite literally could be a relationship for some of you, or a connection, or some sort of bond that is deepening. For others of you, though, this is about allowing yourself to really be seen, to really be vulnerable, to really be exposed. You can only feel so connected to the degree with which you are willing to be vulnerable to another person. And so if you feel very internally or very isolated, you feel like you're kind of stuck inside of yourself, I feel like you need to open up. You need to be vulnerable with someone, or at least vulnerable with yourself, because that kind of feels like a part of this message too. I feel like with the Lovers as well, there is, again, this message of self-love, of choosing something, making a choice. Tell me a little bit more about this Lovers. And I just have to say, the angels really are working with you. I really do feel that. So even if you don't ordinarily work with angels, or you might have a different interpretation of what that might mean for you, there are very powerful kind of spiritual helpers or guardians who are working with you. And I feel like one of them, I'm even getting one of them wants to give you their name, which is quite interesting. And maybe that's something that comes in through a dream. The Hierophant. Well, for some of you, this literally could be some kind of marriage, because the Hierophant and the lovers together, that's kind of the image here. It is some sort of religious or spiritual ceremony, some sort of unification with something. Oh, interesting. I actually sort of see this as a unification of the physical and non-physical, the higher and lower self, if you will. There is some sort of communion or union that is going on. And it feels like you are bringing all of these different parts of you together. And for some of you, this could quite literally be involving another person as well. But I really get a strong sense of union here. And I feel like for those of you who are in relationships, maybe someone had a nerve that was touched, or someone was triggered. Could be you. I was also hearing at the beginning of this reading, like dead silence, literally thinking about Duma. And so maybe someone isn't saying anything. Maybe there's kind of just this awkward silence, this awkward pause. Maybe you're even like no contact or something, or you're just not hearing from somebody. What are we supposed to do with that? Three of Cups, coming together, a celebration. Some of you might be reconnecting with someone at a celebration, maybe a wedding, maybe a graduation, maybe a birthday, holidays. We are in that time of year after all. What do we do with this dead silence? I'm getting... This is really interesting. I don't usually go here, honestly, but I'm getting kind of like goddess energy, divine feminine with the Empress card. That just feels like an archetype to connect to, or something that is connecting with you during this time. And that's all about creation. That's all about nurturing. That's all about life force. And it really kind of feels full circle to the Queen of Pentacles that I pulled at the very beginning. You are birthing something. You are creating something. And I feel like some of you are doubting that, or there's kind of this fear or this worst case scenario thinking. Your mind's kind of getting ahead of you. And of course, as I say that, I also look down at this Eight of Swords. Some of you are really in your head. And I feel like it's important for you to get into your body, right? Because a lot of people, I'm just going to be real, a lot of people who think they're spiritual are kind of just up in the clouds. They're up in their head. They're kind of up in this story. And being in a body is a deeply spiritual experience. I really do believe there are so many spirits, so many souls who want to be here. There's something so fascinating about being alive, about being incarnate. And I feel like with the Empress, especially the Eight of Swords, get out of your head, get into your body, ground yourself. Sit with your triggers, sit with your emotions. I really encourage you to do some sort of somatic work or therapy or modality. That feels like a very powerful way for you to heal. For some of you, this quite literally could be doing something like yoga. For others of you, it could just be somatic therapy, or even like creative arts, expressive therapy. It feels like there is something in your body that you are healing. Some sort of trauma, some sort of story, some sort of wound or blockage. And I'm getting crazy geometries as I'm saying this. My God, it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a flower that's blossoming in all different directions, but it's not even that. There is a lot of energy that you could be tapping into. That is what I'm getting from this image. And I feel like you are unfolding into that. You are activating some sort of dormant energy. So again, kind of an esoteric reading. I really hope this wasn't too much for all of you. I'm so curious to hear how this resonates. And if you have any other interpretations of the cards that maybe I didn't cover, definitely comment that down below. And if you've made it all the way to the end, give us that little snake emoji. You might as well. You're a real trooper. I super appreciate it. And if you could hit that like and subscribe button, I would appreciate that as well. Again, I am running a sale on my website, so you can get 20% off all of my services using the code Good Tidings. And again, all of that's in the description box. I will see you next time, Sagittarius, and sending lots of love and blessings your way. Take care.